Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Ethan Osborne, independent candidate out in Kentucky, trying to take down Thomas Massie, who's been the Republican there for about a decade. I am very interested in your bio, very interesting story. You are a land firefighter, among other things. So just talk to me kind of your background and how you became, motivated to get in this race as an independent.
Sure. So, yes, I'm Ethan Osborne. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives here in Kentucky's 4th District as an independent. I'm running against incumbent Thomas Massie and the Democratic candidate Matthew Lehman. And I'm a forester and arborist, and I'm currently on call as a wildland firefighter. And I'm on the ballot as an independent, but I would consider myself a progressive libertarian, and I'm a member of numerous third parties and political organizations, and I'll get back to that later. But what's really the biggest things that's influenced me into politics itself and activism and why I'm doing this, there's mainly two main reasons, and that one being, I will say that I'm a vehement secularist. And I grew up in the city, but I also spent a lot of my upbringing here in rural Kentucky. And, although my family is very nationalistic, they weren't religious fanatics. And we have a kind of a diverse religious background ourselves. And so at a young age, I began to find myself at odds with the extreme Southern evangelical fire and brimstone stone churches that
Mm.
I lived around. And especially when that was the only option for childcare when you live out in the country. So in the summertime, when my parents had to work and couldn't find a babysitter, and we live out in the country, it's churches that offer childcare. So I had to go to a vacation Bible school, and the pastor was a Klansman.
Wow.
And yeah, I swear that this church even had stained glass windows of a burning cross. So, and the pastor was just psycho, abusive, racist, and just maybe so. My clash with religious fundamentalism at a young age that set the course for my own political and spiritual journey myself. And other biggest influence, and we're getting just to the core here. As I got older, I'm an elder millennial. I'm 39, and my second biggest influence was music and art. So
Mhm.
I started getting into punk rock and '90s alternative and gangster rap, and um, it kind of awakened me to the racism around me and my own racism that I had learned from learned behavior and the environment that I was growing up in. And I just never stopped questioning things, and I developed a thirst for knowledge, as time went on. And I remember I was suspended from school once because I refused to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and
Wow.
because I felt like why I thought this is a free country. Why are you forcing me to do this? And why are you forcing me to pledge to your God? And so that at that instance that made me become a free speech absolutist. And then after when I got suspended from school, I was forced into a Catholic school for a year, and that just made it worse. So, and the political elites who control this district, they're mostly conservative Catholics and evangelical Southern Baptists. So those are they're the most organized, and they have the most money. And they, not to get a nuance of religious things, but usually they may be at odds against each other sometimes. But when it comes to cultural war stuff, they're allies, especially
Right.
when they're the ones with all the money. So, but see, these groups, they don't truly represent the disorganized, untapped, apathetic masses of people here. The non-voters who are outnumbered. Actually, the non-voters outnumber those who vote here, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. Um, the state of Kentucky's politics have been dominated by Republicans and Dixiecrats. That's what I would call the Democrats who in the past have, because the state has some Democrat majorities in its history and Democratic governors, but somebody like Amy McGrath, who ran against McConnell in 2020, she was trying to sound like Trump. Basically, she said, "I'm a Trump Democrat." So to me, that's a Dixiecrat,
Right.
And that I'm not that. And there's a lot of people here who aren't that. And so this state, Kentucky, it's one of it is the fourth most impoverished state, and we also have the highest cancer rates of any state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of that has to do with, of course, the coal industry and just people being unhealthy because they live in poverty. And so that brings us back to the issues. So those are the two things that got me into politics. And then again, why I'm running here is because people are sick of the two-party duopoly, and voters want an independent. I canvassed door to door, and I did some tabling at different places to get the signatures I needed to get on the ballot, and I'm officially on the ballot. And I learned that people are more receptive to an independent than a Democrat or Republican because they're tired of them.
Right.
It's just the same old. And same thing. I was a community organizer with the AFL-CIO, so I did similar canvassing for them for labor rights issues. And it was the same story when I was working for them. But people are over, and I canvassed for them in different states, in Pennsylvania, and I did phone banking, and I also did door to door in Pennsylvania and here, and it's same story there. So but to bring it back in to my platform, first I want to talk about the reproductive rights, because it appears that I'm the only candidate in this race who is pro-choice. Thomas Massie obviously is anti-choice and represents the extreme end of anti-abortion groups. The most, like the John Birch Society. Thomas Massie gave a speech to the John Birch Society on their 60th anniversary. So that is insane to me. But anyways, and then Matthew Lehman. I can't find any statements from him saying he's pro-choice. He's been completely silent, and his silence on the issue during the most crucial time lately about the SCOTUS leaks, to me, implies that it's not important to him. It says nowhere on his platform, on his webpage, anything about reproductive rights. And he's been completely silent during all of these protests the last few weeks. I know they say 67% of Democratic voters in Kentucky are anti-abortion. But to me, that doesn't matter. Okay. Don't well, maybe he truly himself is anti-abortion too. I don't know, but if you're not, and you're trying to just pander to get elected, to get votes because you don't want to inflame people, and you're just more worried about getting elected, then you're false. You're a cardboard cutout, man. So
right.
stand up for what you believe in, and maybe the people who normally won't vote will be inspired to vote for you. So
let me ask you, because Kentucky is pretty conservative, but like you said, there's a whole lot of non-voters. I know Charles Booker, who's running against Rand Paul, has been going after that kind of deflated non-voting base.
Sure.
How do you convince people in a red state to consider an independent candidate?
Well, it comes down really to semantics, and honestly, I'll describe it like this. MAGA is a cult. Okay. Trump is a cult leader, and everything that he's done, I would consider MAGA like a coalition of cults. He found all the crazies and got them all united under authoritarianism, populist, right-wing authoritarian rhetoric. And that basically just and he tapped into people's collective rage and fury, which is warranted, but he misguided it just the same way all authoritarians have done in the past. And so you have to just talk to people and try to act like you're deprogramming them from a cult. The campaign is about dialogue, and also when you get past the idea, when you like the dirty word socialism, um, those when you talk to like more conservative voters, and you just lay out the policies, like progressive policies such as nationalizing coal, they're all about it.
Mhm.
Now, if I say socialize coal, they're turned off. It's just
Right.
a matter of because of keyword triggering people. That's that's like a 10 of neuro-linguistic programming that I believe Trump has a little bit of experience in. But so basically, it's just laying out policies that are already popular with people that will help them and their families instead of focusing on personalities. I believe in principles and policy over personalities, and that's not what we have in our politics. It's personalities over policy.
Right. And can I ask you also, in terms of actual policies, it seems to me when you look at the impoverished nature of Kentucky, like you said, one of the most impoverished in the country, they could be open to a more populist message. What are some of the top policies you're running on to try and improve that the poor nature and the impoverishment in Kentucky? Because frankly, what has Mitch McConnell or any of these people done to bridge the income inequality gap, improve healthcare, education, et cetera?
Um, well, Mitch McConnell's done nothing but take from us and
Right.
scapegoat, ghost, enemies, fabricated uh, culture war stuff to stay in power. But so the first thing I would like to bring up in that regard is giving these people a voice who don't have one, and that's election reform. So in order to break the dictatorship of the duopoly, we have to abolish the electoral college. It has to go, and we have to get rid of the filibuster because these things are barriers to giving independents and third parties any kind of voice. And we need to institute proportional representation in our districting. This district is insanely gerrymandered. We've got about 14 counties in this district. And if you look at how it's shaped, it's absurd. The majority of the population of this district is in the top three northernmost counties where I live, Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties. And they're described, geographically as suburbs of Cincinnati, which is in another state, but it's just separated by the Ohio River. But these three counties have the majority, I think almost 90% of the population of this district. But the people who control this district are the most wealthy. Mostly it's rural landowners, rural wealthy landowners. Okay. And then it's also the richest people in the cities here. And they work together, to control this district, and especially the rural landowners. Also, this comes to labor issues as well, but the countryside here, you're either a rich landowner or you're a peasant that works for them. And if
Mhm.
you're working for these rich landowners, you're going to listen to their politics and support what they support, and that's how they keep them under control. Aside from the immigrants that they exploit for their labor because they don't have any rights.
Right.
So we need to fix the gerrymandering problem. And if we had proportional representation, everyone would feel like more people would feel like their vote counts. And that's why a lot of people don't care about voting and don't vote, because they just feel powerless.
Right.
So we need proportional representation in our district. And it simply entails identifying the number of voting age individuals in the geographic space and drawing boundaries around the space based on the requisite number of voting age residents. So the district should be blind to political affiliation race, religion, etc. So
And yeah, can you talk about a little bit? You've been open that you've had some mental health struggles, alcoholism, problems with the law, which I think is a good thing to be open about those things and kind of explain how it makes you connect a little bit more with voters. Can you kind of talk about that?
well, sure. So the opioid epidemic. This was the epicenter here. It started in this region. With the Sackler family and the pill mills and all that. And then once people realized heroin's cheaper than buying Oxycontins, they get hooked on heroin. And basically, so first we'll talk about, we need to end the war on drugs because it's created a criminal class and a criminal caste here. And we should treat addiction like a mental condition and not a criminal issue, of course. So that's a top priority. And that also connects back to universal health care, which I also support because I had dealt my whole life with some debilitating depression and other mental conditions that I don't want to get specifically into. It's hard to talk about personal things, but at the same time, it's my personal experience that influences me to do what I'm doing. And so I had these untreated mental conditions, and then I started to basically self-medicate with alcohol, and that just led to a downward spiral of further madness, and then inevitably problems with the law and being incarcerated myself. So
Right.
and then that gave me the experience of the criminal justice system and the prison industrial complex from the inside. And I saw how just barbaric the conditions are in there, and how it doesn't do anything to rehabilitate. It's just further punishment. And it makes people even more crazy. And when they get out there, it's 3-4 times as hard for ex-cons to get housing because we face housing discrimination. So a lot of times felons and people with criminal backgrounds, they're forced to live in places that will let them live there, and then they're all bunched together, and then that's a problem in itself. And everything from parole being just being set up for failure basically when you get out. Same with job discrimination. And
Mhm.
again, having such problems finding meaningful work, I ended up doing hard physical labor. I did that when I was younger too, working on farm as a farm hand, landscape stuff like. So I don't mind it, but some people, you feel like you're just condemned to that kind of work. A lot of people, that's why they do it. Which that would bring me into my labor policies as well. But again, I believe universal health care and adequate access to mental health services is crucial in helping stop crime and getting people out of prisons. And Kentucky has an insane mental health problem too. We have like some of the highest cases in the country, highest rates in the country of mental health people diagnosed with severe mental health issues. And it's all kinds of craziness here, and nothing's fundamentally changed. So people are desperate for somebody different.
And
And
what are the logistics? You're on the ballot. Obviously, you're not in a primary because you're running as an independent. What's the chances of you getting to debate the Democrat or Massey, the Republican congressman? What kind of momentum do you have? Are there polls
well,
yet?
uh, I don't believe Kentucky really does in-depth polling on primaries, and really nothing. I'm not going to see any information like that until after the Republican primary, because the Democratic primary here was canceled and they just handpicked their candidate. And I'm
Of
not really
course.
sure, exactly how that works, if they did some kind of caucus type, thing, but it just seemed like a backdoor deal to me. Um, but so the Republicans will have their primary, and it's almost 100% Massey's going to win. And So after that, we'll see more polling, and I'm honestly not sure how that's going to work. I kind of assume that they're going to just act like I don't exist, but we'll see. Um, so yeah, but what was the other question you said about? I'm sorry.
Yeah, how do you build momentum there? Because obviously you're not getting many favors from the media.
Oh, well, it's all footwork. It's again canvassing and just trying to get exposure. And it's an uphill battle because I have black funding, and to get a coroplast yard sign made, the standard size, it's like $20 per sign.
Hmm.
And that's so if I need 1,000 yard signs. I mean, ideally at least.
Hmm.
So it's things like that. It's tough. I have to use my own money to print my flyers, and I've got a couple volunteers, and I'll pay people too to help some here and there, and I had to pay out of pocket for my website, and yeah, and I'm not rich, man.
Right.
It's really tough, but it's just a matter of getting out there and making noise, 'cause that's all I can do. And
And
hopefully people, and then also, I think a lot of people maybe will get in there and just see, hey, whoa, even if they haven't heard of me, they're just so fed up that hopefully they'll vote for me because they don't like either candidate.
and
Um,
lastly, obviously you've been paying attention, to battles among progressives as far as I don't care if Jesus is running. If they're running as a Democrat, I'm not voting for them. While other people want progressives, even though you might not classify yourself as that, to run as a Democrat, because obviously that's the structure we have now. What made you decide to do an independent run rather than trying to push this message in a Democratic primary?
well, for one, I can't even get the Democrats wouldn't touch me even if I tried. They just, I don't have, like, because of my background. That's why I get so infuriated with the Democrats, because I see them running ads where they got candidates smoking blunts and burning rebel flags, and they've got people running who are, there's this one who's, I don't know, she was a dancer, okay, exotic dancer, like, and it's like, that's all I agree with. All that's great, I'm for um complete decriminalization of cannabis. I think that's awesome. But then you have someone like me who's got, I've had some mental health problems, and I've had some problems with the law. They don't care how much reformed I am. It's just like clickiness, basically. I'm just not clicked
Right.
up with them. So they don't like me at all. And um, now back to what you said though, as far as running Democrats or independents or not supporting a Democrat because they're a conservative Democrat, like a vote blue no matter who, versus don't support the system at all. There's a lot of arguing and debates over that. Like I supported Charles Booker as a Democrat. I supported him when he was running in the primary against Amy McGrath. I volunteered for him. And I had Amy McGrath's team tell me that he couldn't get elected because he's black, that just shows that they're Dixiecrats, you know. Um, and that's why I support Booker. I support Booker now running against Rand Paul, because I think Rand Paul's a disaster, and he's another John Bircher. He's
Mm.
a Council for National Policy affiliated, John Birch Society affiliated. Uh, he masquerades like he's a libertarian, and I'll even see people online that are leftists saying, "Oh, I agree with this. He's making sense here on it," because his isolationism and the right wing isolationists, that's the difference. Is it's based in racism, and it's based in selfish greed. Like, I don't care about anyone else. We're not. That's why he doesn't support giving aid to his own state for disaster relief. Or that's also why he doesn't support giving aid to Ukraine, military aid, or relief to other countries, relief to Puerto Rico after their disaster. Same with Thomas Massey. These Republicans, They claim that they're libertarians, and they use that as a shield. Their isolationism, as I said, is based in selfish greed and racism, whereas us as leftists and progressives are it's not necessarily non-interventionism. It's wanting peace. We want
Right.
peace. We're anti-war. That's why we don't support this. So a lot of people can't distinguish that. So
Well, Rand Paul's against giving more to Ukraine, has no problem giving $1.5 trillion to rich people.
Exactly.
He voted for the Bush tax cuts. The Trump tax cuts. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you could debate whether to give more money to Ukraine. I think we've given enough at this point. But yeah, he's a fraud.
Yes, yeah, it's a broken clock is right twice a day. They say,
Right.
that's how it is with the with fake libertarian right. I call them right wingers.
Where can people find out more? Because obviously you need volunteers, donors, all that. You got a website?
Yeah, my website's oz2022.us.
No relation to Dr. Oz.
No. Oh God. That's an embarrassment, because it does cause confusion with some people. Like, I've sent them the website link, or is this Dr. Oz? It's like, oh God, I should have picked a different one. That's my nickname too. I should have just used my name or something. But yeah, oz2022.us, and also kypp.org. That's the Kentucky Pirate Party. I am the captain of the Kentucky Pirate Party, and I'm endorsed by the United States Pirate Party. So I'm a member of many different third parties and political groups, including the Working Families Party and the DSA and others. But the Pirate Party is who I'm most active with, and you should check them out too. They're just basically the party of civil liberties, and they support whistleblowers, protection of whistleblowers like Assange and Snowden and Chelsea Manning. And check out kypp.org and oz2022.us, and please donate so I can get some signs made and I can get some more resources at my disposal. And let's fight the system the best we can, whether it's direct action or electoral politics. Support who you believe in. Try. It may seem futile, just try.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, brother. And I appreciate all that you do, all your journalism on the front lines. You're a stand-up guy. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.